Building it brick by brick.
The requiremento was a document that was read aloud in Spanish, of all things, to the inhabitants of any newly encountered settlements. This is how duplicitous they were. This document announced alleged peace and protection for those choosing to submit to Spanish rule, and it promised war upon those who resisted. The requiremento was read in Spanish. None of the people the Spanish colonized knew Spanish. So, now we come to England. I can't go into that history and the history of the Reformation here, but I want to impress upon you how interconnected these eras in history, these movements in history are to the history of this country. Because remember, the new queen now is a Protestant. She's trying to move England in the direction of Protestantism. Not because she hates Catholics so much, but because of the power that the Catholic Church is generating through the profit they are making from colonizing the New World. This is the actual quote from the patent that Queen Elizabeth read and signed to colonize the heathen and barbarous lands in the New World, which other European nations had not yet claimed. Because the British land at Plymouth Rock and land on the Wampanoag Indians. Much is made about the first Thanksgiving at the Plymouth colony in Massachusetts in 1620. The 101 women and children, mostly Puritans, who were, again, fleeing religious persecution from England and, interestingly enough, economic persecution in Holland. Because this group of people left England to go to Holland, where they thought they'd have a better life, but the Dutch relegated them to low-paying jobs where they couldn't sustain themselves, so they got angry and decided to go to the New World. Because even in the negotiations for land between Native Americans and colonists, there was clear inequality and abuse of power. Even if there was little violence from the Europeans, from the British, against the Native Americans. Because this is where we see the ideology of the doctrine of discovery and the divine right of the English settlers coming into play. They called the decimation of the Native American people a miracle by God. So when we are talking about the decimation of Native Americans by the British especially, we're talking about disease. That is unfortunate. That's certainly not genocide because it wasn't intentional. But what is intentional, what was clearly intentional, was the English settlers taking advantage of the weakened state of the Native American tribes and taking advantage of the kindness they received from friendly tribes who helped them survive when they got here. And it is on this misery, it is on this history of disease and deceit and not honoring trade agreements and deception and the outright theft of land that that America was colonized and established by the British. William Penn, for example, publicized the opportunities awaiting newcomers to the Pennsylvania colony. Judges and prison authorities offered convicts a chance to migrate to colonies like Georgia instead of serving prison sentences. They don't send us their best people. They send us their rapists. They send us the, called indentured servants. And every method from extravagant promises to actual kidnapping was used to take on as many passengers as their vessels could hold. This was what was done in England. Here is where I must pause. This is the difference between indentured servitude and slavery. Indentured servitude is actually a contracted labor agreement that lasts for a specific period of time, and it does end. Slavery, as we know it, is not that at all. I hope you'll join me next week as we talk about that on Brick by Brick with Jacqueline Luqman. Thank you for joining me.
Building it brick by brick.